This is the RamanaMaharshi Satsang. I'm reading and commenting on the essence of Yoga Vasishta. We are working on the chapter on dispassion, the last three verses, verses 21 through 23. Welcome. This is Richard Clarke. I'm not a teacher or a guru, just someone sharing teachings that I love. The Yoga Vasishta is one of the great classics of Advaita Vedanta. It teaches of the illusion of the world, the self, and liberation. And so today are the last three verses from the chapter on dispassion. All this is the tranquil, one without beginning, middle, or end, which cannot be said to be existent or non-existent. Know this and be happy. O Rama, it is indeed nobler to wander begging about the streets of the outcasts, chandalas, an earthen bowl in hand, than to live a life steeped in ignorance. Neither disease, nor poison, nor adversity, nor any other thing in the world causes more suffering to men than such stupidity engendered in their body. So let's review these verses. Verse 21. All this is the tranquil, one without beginning, middle, or end, which cannot be said to be existent or non-existent. Know this and be happy. Vasishta points to the ground of everything you experience. It has no boundaries, no origin, no destination, and no middle point in between. It's not something you can classify as either existent or non-existent because both categories belong to the mind. The mind wants to label reality so that it can feel secure. But the self stands beyond such labels. What you truly are is the silent presence that does not begin with the body or end with it. Everything you see operates within this unbroken stillness. Vasishta urges you to recognize this and rest in it. Happiness arises naturally when the struggle to define or control experience fades. For you, this verse gives you a direct pointer to inner quiet. When you stop chasing mental definitions and simply notice the presence in which every experience occurs, there is peace. When you start to know the vastness that holds your thoughts, emotions, and sensations without being touched by any of them. This recognition frees you from the push and pull of life. Vasishta is telling you that happiness is already available once you must stop mistaking yourself for the restless activity of the mind. Verse 22. O Rama, it is indeed nobler to wander begging about the streets of outcasts an earthen bowl in the hand than to live a life steeped in ignorance. Vasishta is saying that spiritual blindness is the real poverty. Even if someone has wealth, status, or respect, if their life is guided by ignorance of the self, they miss the only thing that brings true freedom. By contrast, a person who knows the self, even if reduced to begging in the streets, is far richer in spirit. The verse challenges worldly assumptions about dignity and success. Vasishta uses the most extreme example of social rejection to make his point. True nobility comes from clarity, not circumstance. RamanaMaharshi often echoed this message, saying that knowing the self is worth more than any outer achievement. For your meditation and daily awareness, this verse helps you see how easily you can slip into valuing the wrong things. You might spend energy trying to protect comfort, reputation, or security while overlooking the deep clarity available within. Vasishta is reminding you that nothing is worth more than the truth about yourself. If you keep your attention on the self, life gains a natural dignity that does not depend on circumstances. You start to recognize that inner clarity is the only real wealth. Everything else comes and goes. Verse 23, neither disease, nor poison, nor adversity, nor any other thing in the world causes more suffering to men than such stupidity engendered in their bodies. Here, Vasishta is blunt. He's pointing out that ignorance of the self causes more pain than any physical illness or misfortune. Disease affects the body. Ignorance affects your entire sense of reality. When you take yourself to be only the body-mind, you suffer from fear, insecurity, and constant inner disturbance. This is what Vasishta calls stupidity, not as an insult, but as a description of the fundamental mistake. You misidentify with something limited and temporary. From that mistake springs every form of mental anguish. This verse highlights that spiritual ignorance is the root of human suffering. In your own practice, this verse encourages you to look honestly at the source of suffering. Life brings illness and hardship, but these are easier to bear when you rest in the self. The deeper pain comes from forgetting your real nature and getting lost in thought-driven identity. Vasishta is urging you to correct the inner mistake that keeps you small and anxious. When you return attention to the self, fears soften and the mind loses its grip. This change can shift how you face every challenge, including aging and illness. These verses show that reality is the tranquil, boundless self, and that ignorance of this truth is the greatest source of suffering. When you value clarity over comfort and keep turning awareness back to the self, a steady happiness begins to rise in your life. And now a video from Nome. The immeasurable existence is Brahman. This self is Brahman.
The immeasurable existence is Brahman. And the Upanishads declare, I am Atma Brahma. This self is Brahman. It pertains to the knowledge of Brahman, and it pertains to the knowledge of the self. For Brahman is to be known only in a non-objective manner. And the self is to be known as the pure, unalloyed existence that it is. What is this self? That is, what is your very existence? Though there is nothing apart from the existence, for the existence itself, there is nothing else at all. Try to discern the existence, the innermost consciousness, as it is. It is not a body, and it is not embodied. The attributes of the body and the qualities of the body do not pertain to that. The limitations of the body, the conditions of the body, do not pertain to that. Likewise, the action and inaction of the body do not pertain to that. The birth and death of the body do not pertain to that. Attributeless, qualityless, actionless, unborn and imperishable. Such is your existence. And this very existence, this very self, is Brahman, of the nature of being, consciousness, bliss. Though nothing is known apart from the consciousness that knows it, the consciousness itself, innermost, is not to be equated with what is conceived. Whatever is conceived in thought is not this self. If you do not regard yourself as being anything produced by thought, anything conceived in thought, what remains? That which remains is true knowledge. If the limitation of the falsely assumed individuality is cast off as being unreal, one finds that this self, one's very existence, is Brahman. In Brahman, the infinite and the eternal, is found all peace and all happiness and all freedom. To abide in such, abide as such. Abidance is knowledge, not something sensorially perceived, not something mentally conceived, but true knowledge, non-objective knowledge, knowledge in which one's very being is the knowledge. Inquire. Inquire within. Who am I? What is this self? According to the definition attributed to the self, all else will appear. Who am I? What is this self? To know this self with transcendent knowledge is to know reality. Brahman is reality. The self alone exists. If there appears to be anything other at any time, inquire for whom it is. Clarity of knowledge regarding the self reveals there is nothing else ever. Reality is only one. The self is only one. For the sake of lasting peace, for the sake of perfectly full happiness, and for the sake of freedom from all of the imagined bondage, know this self.
And now we're going to take a few minutes and inquire. You exist. Notice that you exist, and you know you exist. And inquire, investigate within yourself. What is the silent presence in which all thoughts appear and disappear. How does my experience change when I rest as the unbounded self instead of the body and mind? What do I still cling to that feels more important than awakening to the self? How can I stay rooted in the self even when the body faces difficulty? What do I take myself to be? And who am I really? What am I? What is the nature of my existence? All right. And we'll close with a chant. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Peace, peace, peace. All right. Hello, Doug. I'm glad you made it.
Oh, so am I. Thank you.
And what did you get from today's session?
Thoughts are so seductive. You know, it takes effort to not follow them, while the self is just sitting there quietly,
Uh-huh. That's what the self does.
quietly and peacefully.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons we join together in these satsangs is to share that quiet and peace.
Yes, and it's really a wonderful hour to spend every week.
And it's ever present,
Yes,
even in the busy marketplace, because
yes,
it's not the quiet of the ear, but the ever existing quiet.
right. The quiet that is always there.
Yeah.
It's one feel. It's the most of all.
So anyway, thank you for sharing this time again today, and we'll see you next week, and have good inquiry.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Yes, namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.